Now let's talk about the Russia-Ukraine war. Ukraine says it has launched a significant push to remove Russian forces from the southeast in its counteroffensive. Recall that in recent weeks, fighting has intensified at multiple points along the front line as Ukraine deploys Western-supplied advanced weapons and Western-trained troops. Meanwhile, the general in charge of Ukraine's counteroffensive in the south has said Russian defenses are making it difficult for military equipment, including Western tanks and armored vehicles, to move forward. General Alexander Tenasky says his forces are struggling to overcome multi-layered minefields and fortified defensive lines. We have more in this report.
President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has visited the city of Dnipro in southeastern Ukraine. During his visit, he had a meeting with senior officials to discuss supplies to the war front and air defenses, the situation on the battlefield, and how to strengthen air defenses. This comes as Ukrainian officials revealed that Ukraine launched a significant push to remove Russian forces from the southeast in its counteroffensive. Reports from a U.S. Associated Press cited an unnamed Western official who said the surge in troops and firepower was centered on the region of Zaporizhia. Though that movement could be a tactical feint, both governments have used various measures to gain battlefield advantages. The Institute of Study of War, a Washington-based think tank, reported that Ukrainian forces launched a significant mechanized counteroffensive operation in the western Zaporizhia region, adding that they appear to have broken through certain pre-prepared Russian defensive positions. Meanwhile, the Russian army says it repelled a Ukrainian attack involving several hundred soldiers in the south, one of the areas where Kyiv has been carrying out its counteroffensive. The Russian military also said it progressed in the direction of Liman, in Ukraine's eastern Donetsk region, after reporting an advance of up to 2 kilometers on Tuesday.
Coordinator for Strategic Communications, John Kirby, says the Biden administration has repeatedly asked Americans not to travel to Ukraine or engage in fighting, specifically for the reason that they could be injured or killed. Mr. Kirby stated this during a briefing where he answered questions, particularly about U.S. Marine Corps veteran Trevor Reed. Mr. Reed is a U.S. Marine Corps veteran who was released in a prisoner swap with Russia that the Biden administration brokered in 2022. Reports say the veteran was injured recently while fighting for Ukraine.
They've heard plenty from us about where we stand on Americans fighting in Ukraine. I mean, you don't have to, I mean, even the most casual observer sitting in Moscow could take 2 seconds online and see how vociferously and strongly we have not only not encouraged Americans to go fight in Ukraine, but actively and energetically urged them not to. And so I won't speak for Mr. Reed. He can speak for himself and the decisions he made. But I can assure you and anybody in Moscow can look at what we've said and be equally assured that he went of his own accord. Nothing has changed. And Karine, I think, did this very well with you yesterday, talking about the risks that Americans might take if they go to Ukraine. They should not go. This is not the time for Americans to be in Ukraine. As for Americans that are being wrongfully detained in Russia, nothing's going to change from our perspective about what we're going to have to do or try to do to get them out. Evan and Paul need to come home.